Christianity is true for you, but not for me. This is a very common objection that we hear in making the point that it's more reasonable to allow people to believe what they want to believe rather than to force your beliefs on them. And this is done at the expense of the concept of truth. We have individual truths, they would say. And notice I say they, not we. They would say that if you have your truth and I have my truth, then we are able to tolerate each other's truths. You live out your truth, I live out mine. The problem is that that is a confusion of the word truth from perspective. I can have a perspective that is flawed. I can have a perceived idea that none of you exist by closing my eyes. That only means that I'm not seeing clearly, or other factors are impeding my vision. It doesn't mean that for all people in all places and all times, oh wait, that would be something that is absolutely true, wouldn't it? When someone says Christianity is true for you but not for me, and understand the point that I was making earlier, if I close my eyes and can't see everything, is that my truth, or is it true for both of us that I can't see? If I impose the fact that I can't see on everybody, I'm assuming knowledge of everyone and everything apart from myself based on my individual perspective. I know this is getting a little complicated, but let me just simplify it down this way. If I say anything is true for you but not for me, tell me, is that statement true for you or is it true for everybody? Someone who doesn't know what truth is can make this statement, but I want you to be more informed than that, and I hope you do too. When someone says anything is true for you but not for me, if that is your objection to Christianity, you don't know what truth is and probably don't know what Christianity is either. If someone makes a nonsense statement that doesn't even meet its own criteria, if I apply the argument to itself, then it's not a good argument. If you believe it and it kills itself, then you're believing in something that doesn't even stand on its own 2 feet. But if on the other hand you say there are false claims in Christianity, then we can address them. But acknowledging that you can have your truth and you can have mine fundamentally misrepresents what truth is. Truth is true for everyone at all places and at all times, which usually ends up going 2 directions. Someone will say there's objective truth, meaning that objectively, based on an object, something solid that doesn't change based on my perception of it, that will be true absolutely. But if on the other hand you make the self-defeating statement once again that only a Sith deals in absolutes, Anakin, then you realize that Obi-Wan is now a Sith because that's an absolute statement. Absolutely, only Sith deal in absolutes. Now here's the point. If I'm going to apply reason, logic, I'm going to make sure that my ideas are consistent and clear. The first law of logic is called the law of non-contradiction, that 2 separate ideas can't be true and not true in the same way and in the same sense and cancel each other out, which is what ultimately debunks the second view on truth, it being subjective. It's based on the subject. It changes from circumstance and time and idea. The perfect illustration of this, they claim, is the idea of there being a lifeboat and you having to sort out, okay, if only 3 people can survive and there's 6 people drowning, how do you decide who lives or dies? This shows that morality in and of itself isn't absolutely true, it's subjectively true, because you are forced into a situation where you have to decide, do I save the mother or the baby? Do I save the elderly man or the scientist? Do I save myself or sacrifice myself? Or do I give my position over to someone I don't know and doesn't contribute anything? And you're put into this bizarre scenario. But notice the key detail they're leaving out. Why is this a problem in the first place if life wasn't absolutely valuable? It wouldn't be a problem if there wasn't an absolute statement behind it. You can narrow down through extreme circumstances how different aspects or consequences of that situation will play themselves out, but it doesn't ultimately change the fact that if you choose 3 people are going to die, and you're put in a no-win situation objectively. That is called bad, not a dismissal of truth. But if on the other hand you acknowledge the concept, okay, if there are 3 people on this boat and I can I need to, objectively, save as many people as possible because, well, the objective fact is that life is valuable and I don't want anyone to die needlessly, then I'm going to find a way to make sure we can all survive. And if I can't, then I failed. But if on the other hand as well, I'm put in a situation where I can give my life for the benefit of another, I'm recognizing love. And I'm saying that life is valuable and I will seek to preserve it even at the expense of my own. It's a system that ultimately doesn't understand the original premise that if we make subjective every scenario, we've eliminated the concept of morality altogether. Because if, once again, something is true for you but not for me, then could that work with your bank teller, as Frank Turek oftentimes illustrates? If you say, I need some money, can you give me a $5,000 out of my account? And it says, I'm sorry, sir, you only have 200. That's true for you but not for me. Give me the $5,000. That's not going to fly. If on the other hand you say, what about the whole idea of this religious concept, all these conflicts, people believe in this and believe in that, and based on where they're at, it's just as true for them as it is for you. No, because there is such a thing as being wrong. And if you don't want to say that, then I would call you a coward, not a harmonizer. Here's the point. If we're going to be consistent, if we're going to be reasonable, if we're going to be logical, don't base your reasons for not believing something on a statement that is nonsense. If I say Christianity is true for you, then it is true for everybody if you're correct. But if it's not true for you because it's false, then that is an absolute fact. It is also not true for me because you have made the statement that it is false and now have to demonstrate that. But don't get into such a patronizing and ignorant statement that can't even meet its own criterion and saying, is that true for you but not for me? Well, that statement would have to either be true for everybody or true for nobody. But if it's correct, it would also have to be wrong. It's nonsense. So this is how we would address that. And there are a number of ways of doing this as well. But if you want to see those examples, again, Stealing from God and I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by Frank Turek and Norman Geisler, both address these things in detail, and I encourage you to not only do that, but also pick up Norman Geisler's book, Let Us Reason, where he goes over these logical rules and utilizes opportunities, equations, and scenarios where you're able to recognize a fallacy, a false utilization of these rules of logic, and the mishandling thereof in ways that will serve you very well in your conversations with non-Christians. But perhaps if you're listening, you are a non-Christian. You've made this objection and saying Christianity's true for you, but it's not for me. That may be sounding like you're trying to promote peace, but I don't believe that there is a worthwhile price to pay for peace if it compromises truth. I don't want to believe in a truth that is based on a lie. Do you understand why that's a problem? On the other hand, if I say, you know what, I will allow you to believe that even if it's false, understand I'm doing the same. But also understand as well, we should have enough respect for each other to say, you know what, because I have reasons to believe what you believe is false, I care enough about you to point them out and let you sort those things out. And if you have reasons to believe Christianity is false, that aren't based on emotions or just subjective circumstances or mishandlings of what it claims, then by all means. But if on the other hand you don't have any good reasons for not believing Christianity and you just want to reject it, well, understand why I'm putting out this information and why other Christians are calling you on it. We don't want you to believe a lie, and you shouldn't want us to believe a lie either. If you can show us where the fundamentals of the Christian faith are wrong, then I guess it's not true. But you can't say that it's true for you, but not for me. It's either true for everybody or it's true for nobody. That's how truth works. If you have any sincere questions, feel free to ask. I'll look forward to seeing you all next time and discussing more of these objections. But until then, I'll look forward to seeing you all again. And until then, God bless you.